Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. As you probably know, Wagner Mercenaries moved from Russia into Belarus at the invitation of Lukashenko. Was the deal between Lukashenko, Putin and Prigozhin, supposedly. And they moved 9 columns of mercenaries moved from Russia into Belarus, a little bit south of Minsk, the capital of Belarus. Supposedly these guys are engaging in some drills, those guys being the Belarusian military and the Wagnerites, very close to the border with Poland. Poland shit her pants for good reasons and moved some troops, more troops, to the border. They did it before the Wagnerites arrived over there anyway, but now they have a reason to beef up their border, which is within their own right. They can do whatever they want on their territories. If they want to walk naked and children are not present, they should do that. Anyway, and now Kiev Independent tells us the number of Wagner mercenaries that arrived in Belarus. And that is, according to them, 5,000. Now, I'm going to read this article coming from the Kiev Independent, where they claim the fighters in Belarus, the Wagner fighters in Belarus reached the number of 5,000. I will keep in mind this. The government gives funds allocates funds depending on how big the problem is. So if, let's say, in a neighborhood there's a problem with something, the city will allocate money over their resources to fix the problem. The bigger the problem, the more money. The bigger the problem is reported, the more money those guys give. Obviously, they will check first, right? Yeah. So here, if the Ukrainians are saying 3 million Wagnerites are in Belarus, that would really necessitate a response from the office, right? And send more resources. So the bigger the problem, the more mercenaries are in Belarus, the more attention these guys will pay and send the bill with money. Hey, request, give us this, look what's going on. The Poles, NATO, and Ukraine, as you know, we want money. So here it is, money to defend our territory because of the unprovoked invasion of the evil Russian forces. All right, let's go here to this article. Kiev Independent. Number of Wagner fighters in Belarus reaches 5,000. These guys, which is Kiev, has all the interest in the world to make this number as big as possible, to instill fear in weasels and to say, see, we are actually, telling you, we justify our request for more weapons, more sophisticated weapons from you, weasels, because look, that's a lot, it's a big threat and it's growing. Now this is where the Wagnerites are residing at this point. When winter comes, I don't think they will be staying here. So they will be moving at that point. Remember, all this camp that was built in Belarus, all this camp could be blown up with 2 or 3 missiles. So all those 5,000 could be done in 2 seconds. So I don't think that's much of a threat if you look at it that way. And don't kid yourselves. That plan is on the table in Ukraine right now. If it's not, that means those guys are not Okay, about 5,000 Wagner mercenaries arrived in Belarus, according to Ukraine's State Border Guard Service spokesman Andriy Demchenko. He said that the border with Belarus is secure and is being monitored for additional risks. That's standard procedure, correct. Their presence there does not present an immediate threat to Ukraine. Okay, not imminent, immediate. Demchenko said the number of Wagner men in Belarus was initially in the hundreds, but mercenaries kept arriving. 9 Wagner columns arrived to Belarus so far after Yevgeny Prigozhin's abortive mutiny against the Kremlin. It was not that. If you remember, he said it's the March of Justice because he claimed that Russian military destroyed some of his Wagner positions. Therefore, he had a beef with the military, not with Putin, Kremlin. Prigozhin reportedly told his mercenary that he will train the Belarusian army. Okay, there it is. They're going to explain you right here. You see, they start with this, and then a mutiny, and they're going to tell you this. Prigozhin launched a quote-unquote march for justice against Russian military leaders on June 23rd after the Russian army allegedly targeted Wagner troops in Ukraine. His mercenaries occupied Rostov and marched 200 kilometers to Moscow, only to abruptly end the rebellion less than 24 hours after it started. It started because they knew the Russians said, we're gonna just nuke the shit out of you, so back off. Or they said, hey, Prigozhin, these are your coordinates. You got, I don't know, half an hour to stop that. I think that's how probably it was. Prigozhin, we know where you are. Time out, we're gonna queue up. As a result of the undisclosed agreement between the Wagner leader and the Kremlin, Prigozhin and his contractors were allowed, no mercenaries anymore, were allowed to leave for Belarus to avoid persecution. Retribution, I would say, not persecution, it's a retribution. Now that is an armed insurrection. Not even an insurrection because Wagner is not part of the government. Well, you can call it, but there were no military involvement and all that. Now that's an insurrection if the military would have jumped in. Belarusian dictator Lukashenko claimed on June, he's dictator right now, not self-proclaimed president or, no, he's the dictator. On June 27, that Prigozhin had arrived in the country. So, hey, Igor, so you're the one, from Kosovo? I know you, I covered you one more time, and I was not very impressed on you. But anyway, it is what it is. So, my friends, not an imminent threat, but it is a threat and it's growing. Those mercenaries will be over there just used as boogeymen. That's what it is. They have no power to go and those fight. First, they lack heavy weaponry. You say, well, they could be provided by Belarus. I don't think Belarus is a rich country in weapons. That's my feeling. It's kind of like something I would say as Saddam Hussein was when he was attacked by NATO. The same thing. And if you don't think it was attacked by NATO, then what? Was it defended by NATO? I mean, which way is it? Not by NATO? I mean, look at the countries over there that did not invade. How do you call that? Peaceful intercourse. All right, my friends, we know what we're talking about. So here we have these guys. 5,000 is not enough, but give the Poles reason to bring their troops over there, which is fine. But the problem is these guys yelled at Putin when he brought his forces on his territories by the border with Ukraine. Everybody was like, oh my God. Why did he do that? Implement the Minsk agreement that Ukraine as a state, signed. Minsk Agreement 1, Minsk Agreement 2. You implement them. They say, no, we're not. Then we're going to go and, do that bad thing of defending the Russian-speaking population. So if tomorrow I speak Zimbabwean, I'm going to be a Zimbabwean. I'm going to be a... how do you call it? A Romanian or in English, I suppose Romania. I was born in Romania, so anyway, Romanian-speaking population in Zimbabwe. What am I going to be? Or my children, if I move right now to Zimbabwe, and my children, let's say, speak Romanian as well as I do, right? And they will be called Romanian-speaking Zimbabweans, my kids. I mean, you see how idiotic that is? Those Russians over there, being in Ukraine, are not only Russian-speaking, they're Ukrainians speaking Russian. I mean, it's idiotic. Those are, if you do a genetic thing, something, but they're all Slavs. They're, very much related, cousins, brothers. And unfortunately, they kill one another for other interests. It's sad. And the problem is not the Ukrainian people, do that. It's the guys who are in charge, the Ukrainians being in charge. He was democratically elected over there. Yes, Zelensky, and then with Zhmyhal, and then appointed Reznikov, and then appointed Yermak. And remember, Reznikov is the defense minister of Ukraine. Reznikov, the Ukrainian, and then you have the prime minister, another Ukrainian, Zmihal, and then you have the elected Ukrainian Zelensky, and you have the chief of staff, another appointed Ukrainian Yermak, which is fine. But these guys are in charge of the Ukrainian nation all together. They're all in it, and they are defending the Ukrainian country and the Ukrainian culture and nation and all against the evil Russians. You can make shit up. I know people who probably would, and I can't speak for them, but that's what I think. Okay, I think they were just spinning like this in their graves, bringing them back up to life and say, hey, look, those guys are in charge of that, and they're doing that to that and that and that. They'll be like, what? Don't get me wrong, a lot of Ukrainians are not seeing Russians as friends, because they look at the Russians as Soviets and what they did in the past, the Russians, blah, 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 blah. They don't look at them as that. But YouTube, we can't tell the truth here. We can't. We have to just eat out like a tard. That's what I have to do. Because otherwise this guy's going to say, that truth must not be said out loud, especially here. That's what it is. So if you understand what I'm talking about, you understand. If you don't, sorry, look deeper into who's who is who, and what is what. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.